Hi, this is a session of lessons learned, lessons shared, and it's motivated by my mentor's comment that when we create something once and we get to use it over and over again, unlimited number of times, not limited by my availability or my ability, then we've multiplied ministry. So I'm going to try to do this. This is something new for me, and as with doing anything new, there's a chance that it'll be done poorly in the beginning, but it'll get better. In this session of Lessons Learned, Lessons Shared, we're going to be looking at the reality that we live in a broken world where illness, frustration, loneliness, failure, temptations, and other hurts are part of everyday life. The question is not whether we'll face these and suffer through them. The question is, what will we do in response to them? Now, we could vent and complain. We could be paralyzed by them. We could grow bitter, not better. We could try to medicate and cover up the pain with alcohol, pornography, video games, television, or food. But here's another response, that is to grow through them. As Jim Rohn said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenges, wish for more wisdom. These words are good, but how do you turn wish into reality? And that's what we're going to be looking at this session of Lessons Learned, Lessons Shared. For many years I've read and studied the passage, James chapter 1, verses 2 to 4, and only in recent, maybe 5 to 7 years have I understood and begun to practice and experience the truth of it. Here's what James says in chapter 1, verses 2 to 4. He says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Here's what James doesn't say, that consider the trials you face as joy. He says instead, consider the reality that trials can lead to maturity and completeness, lacking nothing. That's what brings us joy, our maturity and our growth, not the trials themselves. The joy is not in the trials. Some people get bitter during the trials. Some people get paralyzed during the trials. Some people just don't do well, nor do they respond correctly, ethically, or maturely in trials. And James is saying if we choose to grow instead of be paralyzed or be broken even further in the face of trials, then joy is the result. In the face of trials and temptations, we can grow our attitude. Attitude is simply the pattern of thinking that we have in reaction to our circumstances. I used to think that trials and temptations break my faith, my character, and my skills. But more recently, I've begun to think differently, that trials and temptations build my faith, build my character, and build my skills. Instead of thinking, how can I get out of this, which is one pattern of thinking, when we face trials, we can think, how can I get through this, and what can I get from this? Not only can our thinking patterns or our attitudes change and grow, but our faith can grow in the face of trials and temptations. I used to want to see if I could handle matters on my own, and that I thought was a sign of growth. But I've discovered that faith grows when I rely on God, depend on God. To say in the face of temptation, to say in the face of trials, I want to see what God can do through this. I want to see the outcome of God's hand in my life, and then allow faith to grow. Faith is not just passively praying, but praying, God, help heal me, and then cooperating with God by getting the rest that you need, by eating well, by exercising, by following the common sense care for self. James says faith without deeds is dead, so to grow faith, to have a living faith, we must follow our prayers, our understanding of God's instructions with action, with obedience, with follow through. Trials, tragedies, and temptations not only help us grow in our attitudes if we choose to, and grow in our faith, but also in our skills. For instance, if we want to grow to rebound from failure, we require skills to turn failures into opportunity and opportunities into beneficial outcomes. I think we're going to possibly do a lessons learned, lessons shared about the life of Peter, about how to live beyond failure in the near future. Maybe your trial is being let go from your current work and your skill set is no longer needed in the marketplace. So what you need to do is learn new skills, retool yourself, go to the library, go online training, go back to school, whatever it is that is needed to learn new skills. Sometimes we don't learn new skills when we're able to coast and rely on what we know. But when we face trials, we're required to learn new skills, and then we grow. Trials, temptations, and tragedies require us to grow in character as well, or else it will do us more damage than good. To grow in character might mean to grow in patience, to grow in courage, to grow as a loving person. Again, we'll probably cover in a future lessons shared session on how do you develop character, godly character, helpful, good characters. And we're going to just briefly say that it relies on two things: the company you keep and the convictions you have. The companies you keep would be company with God and company with men and women who are strong in character, who are skilled, and who are wise. As we surround ourselves with people like that, as we saturate our mind with convictions and live out those convictions, our character will grow. And all of this is in the fertile soil of tragedies, maybe, temptations, or trials. Trials and tragedies can also affect our emotions. They can lead us to feel hopeless. But now we have the opportunity to grow in our hope in Christ. How do we do that? We're going to look at that in the future lessons learned, lessons shared. Maybe our emotions could be very anxious during trials and temptations. We can learn to be peaceful in Christ as well. While attitudes are habits of thoughts, emotions are habits of feelings, there are other habits, habits of action, disciplines, or reactions. Here are a list of habits that I'm trying to form in my life because of recent challenges and trials that I've faced. And I realize these habits are important if I'm going to survive and thrive amid the challenges and trials. The first one is pray, plan, and do it now to the best of my ability. Not wait until I have all the answers or all the resources, but pray and then plan and do it now to the best of my ability. Another one is do what is effective, not what is comfortable. Trials and temptations can lead us to seek comfort rather than growth, but to do what is effective, not what is comfortable, is a good habit amid any trials. Another habit is want God's presence and help. A lot of times when we're facing trials and temptations, we feel like we're justified to sin or to give up rather than to call upon God and rely on His presence and His help. So a success habit would be to want God's presence and help amid trials and temptations and tragedies. Here's another one: be a good finder and praise often. When life isn't good to you, it's easy to not be good to others. But to have a success habit like being a good finder and to praise others often is a sure way to renew your heart and your mind and your vision for life. Let me close out this session of lessons learned, lessons shared with a reading of James 1, 2-4 again. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, right? So because, here's the big point, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything.